Okay, so what could a London barber possibly have in common with one of World War II's most lethal snipers? Well, as it turns out, pretty much everything. This is the incredible true story of a man whose day job gave him the exact skills needed for the battlefield.
It seems like an impossible leap, right? A barber and a sniper. But, when you really break it down, the core requirements are identical. You need patience, you need steady hands, and you absolutely need a meticulous attention to detail. These weren't just things you need for a good haircut. Nope, they were the raw materials for an absolutely extraordinary soldier.
So, let's go back. The date is June 6, 1944. And right there, on the chaotic shores of Sword Beach, is a 22-year-old Royal Marine named Derek Cakebread. A guy who, not too long ago, was just a barber from Tottenham, about to step into the largest amphibious invasion in history.
I mean, just think about the whiplash of his life. One minute, he's chatting with shopkeepers and factory workers in his chair. The next, he's conscripted into the Royal Marines, staring down a heavily fortified enemy. Talk about a world away from just trimming sideburns.
That's how many German machine guns were defending his section of the beach. It was an absolute meat grinder. I mean, in the first hour alone, dozens of his fellow commandos were cut down before they even hit dry land. The odds were just staggering.
Okay, so how on earth does a guy trained to handle scissors and a comb get picked for one of the most specialized, deadliest roles in the entire military? Well, the answer is probably not what you're thinking.
Yeah, this is the real question, right? It's not like he volunteered for it. He didn't have some secret background in hunting or sharpshooting. His path was, well, a lot weirder than that.
Believe it or not, it all came down to a single line on a form. Just a simple, bureaucratic observation. Some officers looking at his file sees the word hairdresser and makes this incredible leap of logic. Hey, steady hands, pays attention to detail. This guy could be a sniper. And just like that, his fate was sealed.
And you know what? That wild assumption turned out to be absolutely right. So they send him off to sniper school in Wales, and, to everyone's surprise, the barber from North London is a natural. He completely excels. Then he has to get through the notoriously brutal commando course in Scotland. We're talking a course where instructors used live ammunition in training. He didn't just pass, he proved he was born for this.
So with that training under his belt, he's immediately thrust into the dense, treacherous hedgerow country of Normandy. This claustrophobic, tangled landscape, it was the perfect hunting ground. And Marine Cakebread was about to go to work.
This little patch of land was his entire world. A tiny, precarious foothold in enemy territory. And for 3 long months, this small slice of Norman farmland became this brutal arena where snipers from both sides just stalked each other, day in and day out.
And this is where his work really began. It wasn't some chaotic firefight. It was all about cold, calculated patience. He sees a German officer out at 400 yards, probably doing reconnaissance. He dials in his scope, accounts for the 18-inch bullet drop at that range, and just squeezes the trigger. 1 shot, 1 kill. The tally had officially begun.
But here's the thing. He wasn't the only expert playing this deadly game. The Germans had their own sharpshooters, many of them hardened veterans from the Eastern Front, and they were hunting him too.
And on June 11th, his luck almost ran completely out. A bullet cracks past his ear before he even hears the rifle shot. A German sniper had spotted him first. Any movement at all, and he was dead.
This is that moment. This is where his barber's patience literally becomes a tool for survival. He lays there, frozen, for 20 agonizing minutes, barely even breathing. Then he begins this incredibly slow 2-hour crawl, inch by painful inch, 300 yards back to safety. That's a lesson you can't learn on any training course.
So, Cakebread's effectiveness started to have this huge ripple effect, way beyond just his kill count. He wasn't just a soldier anymore. He was becoming a phantom, a source of pure terror that could paralyze the enemy.
The impact he had was just profound. German officers stopped carrying maps or using binoculars out in the open. Soldiers started moving in a crouch, scurrying from cover to cover, their nerves totally shredded. They had no idea who he was, but they gave him names. They called him a ghost, a devil. He was literally haunting the German lines.
So, what was the final number? This was his confirmed kill tally for the Normandy campaign alone. More than 30 enemy soldiers, taken out with that same methodical, lethal precision. It was one of the highest tallies of any British sniper in the entire campaign.
In fact, his impact was so huge that his own commanding officer, the legendary Brigadier Lord Lovett, actually immortalized him in his memoirs. That right there is the ultimate testament to the quiet, deadly effectiveness of the hairdresser from Tottenham.
But what happens after all that? After the horrors of the hedgerows, what becomes of a man like Derek Cakebread when the guns finally fall silent? Well, his extraordinary war would end with a very quiet, and maybe even more difficult, return to an ordinary life.
I mean, look at this timeline. It really puts his whole journey into stark perspective. In the span of just a few short years, he goes from the familiar comfort of his barber shop to the absolute epicenter of the war. And then, just like that, right back again. Almost as if nothing ever happened.
Back home, his old clients would sit in his chair, making small talk, asking what he did in the war. He never told them the truth. Not really. He didn't talk about the fear or the patience or the men he killed. He talked about the weather, the bad food, the mud. Those two worlds, they were just too far apart to ever bridge with words.
You know, the story of Derek Cakebread is such a stark reminder that our greatest strengths can be hidden in the most ordinary places. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What untapped potential is just sitting there in our own daily routines, just waiting to be revealed by the extraordinary pressures of the world?